Yo, what's up guys, BY Gaming here, and in today's video I basically wanted to do a quick overview of a monster called Fossarius, which is going to be an upcoming quest monster, and this guy is definitely one that you want to pick up if you can, for sure. So before we get into exactly, what's going on here with his traits and his moveset, I want to please ask that you drop a like on the video to show your support. We are almost at 400 subs, which blows my mind because that is incredible that so many of you want to watch my videos. And so yeah, that being said though, please drop a like showing your support and let's get right back into the video. So first we have his traits, which are looking pretty good. He has Tough at rank 0, Stun Immunity at rank 1, and Status Caster Megataunt at rank 3. And I think that obviously the feature thing here is definitely the Megataunt Status Caster, because Megataunt is still useful by all stretches of the imagination at this point in the game. And, it always has been and it probably will always be somewhat relevant, considering that it basically makes your monster a magnet and draws in enemy attacks and so on, which allows your other two monsters to move freely and, strategically do whatever they have to. So obviously that is going to be the feature trait of this monster, and most likely one of the main reasons why you'd want to pick him up. But Tough is good as well, because that blocks out negative effects 35% of the time, and now that is roughly 1/3 of the time, which means that it is going to come in clutch at some point. It's definitely going to, 1/3 of a probability is high enough to the point where you'd actually expect it to do something at some point. You know what I mean? So yeah, Tough is awesome, and Stun Immunity also can come in handy, because why would you want to get stunned, right? Like, if you can avoid getting stunned and losing a turn, that's going to come in handy as well. So this guy has some pretty darn good traits. And, yeah, definitely justifies his role as a tank. He definitely does look like a tank design-wise as well. You can see that he does have some Glubu vibes. Glubu is a OG mythic, for those of you who don't know. He's like a purple monster with a bunch of muscles. This guy definitely looks like he is a tank, and, obviously that is his role. So, yeah, he has a really fitting design. I do like the design. It looks kind of like an armadillo kind of creature, but, yeah, that's pretty awesome. And for his, power, life, and speed, that's not something that's confirmed, but assuming that this guy is anything like regular tanks, traditionally they have like decent power, not like super high, super low, really, really high life, and really bad speed in many cases, right? Like Mouseron was like that, was really slow as heck, had, okay attack power, and a really high life stat relative to other monsters in the game. So who knows exactly how high this guy's life is, but I'm expecting it to be high. Like, maybe it's like Syntheris level high, or like, the Fruit Taster, both of which have 118,227 base life at level 100. So maybe we'll see that, but who knows? I'm guessing it's going to be high anyway. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. And yeah, this guy in general kind of reminds me of Mouseron, just looking at his traits, because he does have Tough, right? And Mouseron has Tough, and he obviously has Status Caster Megataunt. So yeah, pretty good traits. And relic-wise, I'm not sure what he's going to have here. Maybe armor, maybe a shield. Who knows? But it's probably going to be something pretty cool. It'd be cool if they gave him a essence, just like Shelly or something like that, so he can come back to life. I don't know. I'm not going to, give anyone any ideas, because that most likely isn't going to happen. But maybe it will. You never know. So we're going to have to stay tuned and find out. Next, we're going to take a look at his leaked moveset here. And we have Feared Mutant, which does moderate earth damage and applies daze to the enemy. So this is pretty good because it has no cooldown, so you can just get the daze off, take down the enemy's attack power and its accuracy by 25%, I believe. So that is pretty cool. Attack reduction takes away 25% of the enemy's attack, and obviously applying daze will take away 25% of accuracy as well, and that is a large enough accuracy drop to the point where you'd actually expect it to do something occasionally. Like, heck, I've missed on a sunburn before, so it's like, having a 25% accuracy drop, it's not the worst thing, like a blind, for example, but it can come in handy in certain situations for sure. So Feared Mutant, that's a plus, right? It's spammable too, so that's awesome. Next, we have Garbage Collector. So that is a 30% shield. I'm guessing it is a self shield, even though it doesn't say so here. And that also has 0 cooldown, right? So you can basically just use this as much as you want, and, it'll stay up, right? It's spammable in case you lose it. So that's pretty cool. And now a 30% shield is a pretty chunky shield. It's not like the biggest shield ever, but it can definitely come in handy, especially if the enemies do not have something like shield removal. Like if you're not fighting a kill drill, for example, or if you're not fighting Spectra, because Spectra is still out there right now. anything with Pierce, then shields don't matter, but, anything else that you're fighting aside from something with Pierce or something with shield removal and 30% shield is going to buy you some time for sure. Next, we have Scrap Armor. Does self 50% shield plus damage protection. Now this is a really tanky buff here because a 50% shield is pretty chunky as well, right? That is going to be 50% of your total life that you add to your shield. So obviously the enemy basically has to break through additional HP before they can get to your actual life bar. And damage protection is going to reduce the amount of damage that you take. So that's going to be even better, especially if you're fighting something like Spectra. Like actually damage protection actually helps you against Pierce, right? Even though Pierce will hit through your shield, damage protection will actually lower the damage that you take, right? It's one of those things that Pierce doesn't break through to my knowledge. So that is going to be pretty awesome as well. Next, we have Mutant Charge, which does AoE moderate earth damage plus daze. So this is basically an AoE version of Feared Mutant. I don't need to explain why this is good. It is pretty good because you're applying some level of, attack drop and accuracy drop to the entire team. So long as this is not taken, by some other Megataunt monster, then this is going to come in handy a lot, right? Dazing the entire team, that's definitely some kind of support strategy, and it's pretty good on a tank, right? I'm not expecting that this guy will do a lot of damage, but that's not the point of his role anyway, right? So this is the kind of thing that you'd like to see on a tank monster, just something that kind of throws a wrench in a lot of things and makes things more complicated for the enemy team. So that's something I'm a fan of for sure, the AoE daze. Next we have Virulent Bite. Does heavy earth damage, nanovirus, and daze. So this is awesome as well because heavy earth damage, you'll get off some decent damage. You'll put on a dot, right? Nanovirus will do damage over time. Also, it will block positive effects, right? So that is something that can really, really mess the enemy up as well. Like if you have nanovirus on you, you can't get off the heal or something like that. So that's pretty cool. It definitely messes with plans a little bit when it's applied to you. So being able to apply that to an enemy, that's really good. And it can be an enemy of your choosing. So this is good in case the enemy has dodge area. You want to have some kind of single target attack. And it also has daze as well, right? So this guy definitely has daze as one of his main mechanics. And it is a pretty useful negative status effect to use in my opinion. So I'm a big fan of Virulent Bite. I'd probably run this, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, next let's go on to Virulent Charge. Virulent Charge, I'm not entirely sure how to say this word. But AoE moderate earth damage plus nanovirus. So this is an AoE nanovirus, so you can get that off onto everybody if that is something that you want to do. And again, nanovirus throws a wrench in things, it does damage over time, and it stops positive effects on enemies, which is really awesome, right? So obviously, healing and so on, that's going to complicate things. And, especially with the fruit taster out there, you want to, put on the nanovirus or something like that. So the healing gets halted or whatever, right? It's definitely going to be useful being able to block status effects, positive status effects on the enemy team. So that is pretty cool. That's an AoE version of, well, actually, he doesn't even have a regular just nanovirus attack, but yeah, this is pretty cool. It's a AoE attack, so, if that's your thing, go ahead and run that on him. Next, we have Scrap Protection, which is Team 50% Shield. So that's all it does. I would have liked like 50% shield and damage protection, but maybe that would have been a little bit too much. So just a 50% shield, that is pretty good. That is a pretty sizable shield to give to your allies, but the problem with this, again, is that if Spectra is still out there, or if we see a future Pierce monster in the Metropolitan era, which we most likely will, right? We saw at least one of them in, multiple eras here. In the Cosmic era, there were a couple. In the Corrupted era, we had a couple. And I'm guessing we're going to have, at least a couple in the Metropolitan era that will not protect you, right? But against anything else that does not have Pierce or shield removal, then this is pretty good. Because it is a, time waster / it can buy you time so that you can survive longer. It boosts your survivability. So shield is pretty good for the entire team, right? It's 50% as well. So yeah, that's a pretty good buff, I guess. I mean, I wish it did something additional in addition to the 50% shield, but again, that might have just been too OP, so I can kind of see why they didn't give it damage reduction also, but that would have been something I would have liked to see personally. That would have given me more incentive to actually run this. And now we have Survive and Adapt, which is the final move, not counting the special. So let's see what it does. Self Megataunt, that's kind of predictable because you need to reapply it if it gets taken off. and damage protection. So yeah, this is useful, but it's not a team damage protection. It's just against itself. So if it gets removed, right, if you get cleansed and all of this goes away, then it obviously isn't going to do you an awful lot of good, because I would have liked to see it applied to the entire team, but alas, you take what you can get, I guess. And this is obviously going to be a move that you need to run on the monster in case the Megataunt status caster gets cleansed off. And obviously, considering it's a status caster, it does not last the entire battle anyway. So you're going to have to run Survive and Adapt as one of your 4 moves for sure. That's just not even in the question if you're running this guy as a Megataunt monster, which you obviously will. He's a tank and he's supposed to protect you and so on. So yeah, that is an absolute must. You have to run this move if you're using him as a, sponge for damage and so on. Next we have Waste Eater, which is a special, and this does AoE shield removal plus very heavy earth damage plus mega stun. So this is a weird special in my opinion. I mean, the shield removal, that is pretty cool. Like, it's not supposed to be for his own super high damage, I guess. It's probably supposed to be kind of an aid for your allies maybe, so that you take off the shield and then they can, clean up and do some damage. But it does very heavy earth damage and mega stun. So this is basically a support move, right? I guess you're clearing it up for your allies to go ahead and finish off here, right? You take away the shields, you do some damage, and you shut down the enemies for 2 turns, so long as they are not immune to stun like he is himself. So if you're fighting against an enemy Fossarius, for example, then this isn't going to do an awful lot of good, I guess, in some ways. But yeah, it is an okay special. And again, it's a special, which means that you can't really rely on it most of the time because, well, it's a random spawn rate. So anything that's random, that's involving luck, and that's not really a strategy. So I would say that it's a pretty okay special. It's not like the best special I've ever seen, but, it's all right. And again, you can't rely on it because it's going to be like a hit or miss whether or not you even get to use it in the first place. But if you get to use it, a lot of specials do actually come in handy. So why not, It's one of those things that's just for fun. If it pops up, it pops up. But if it doesn't, well, I wouldn't even take it seriously. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, I guess. Yeah, so you definitely do want to pick up this monster. He is going to be a quest monster, which means ideally, he's going to be pretty easy to get if you have the combination. If you don't have him, there's really nothing you can do. Maybe you can buy the monsters needed for the breeding event when they come out for a bunch of gems. I think you're going to need 400 for it. But if you don't have that, then I guess you're going to have to just miss out on him. I did miss out on Pan-Goliath, which was a previous Megataunt monster. And so I do understand the pain of that. But if you can get him, definitely go for him. And yeah, I will say, though, that Megataunt, in my opinion, has been losing some level of utility just on the fact that monsters like Ryclops exist. And previously we saw Xiao Long with, Ignorance is Bliss. AoE, positive effect removal, just really messes up your Megataunt strategy. And obviously, once he loses Megataunt, he's basically like, I'm not going to say he's useless, but his primary purpose for being there kind of gets taken away as well. So I don't think that Megataunt will ever really die, so to speak, because it is useful, but it doesn't seem as useful as it once was. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, you do see Megataunts always being used from generation to generation. Like, it was Shelly, then it was Mouseron, and, and so on. We saw Elifanatic, and now, obviously, we're going to probably see this guy being run a lot, but I just don't feel like it's as useful as it used to be. So I feel like that could just be me, but I've noticed that. Like, sometimes bringing a Megataunt monster into battle isn't always any kind of reassurance anymore that you're actually going to be able to get him to use his tanking status, right? Sometimes it gets taken away, and then you just basically get cleaned up by the enemies. But it's, I guess, better to have him there than not. So yeah, I'm going to end this video here. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, again, please drop a like to show your support. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.